Hey guys, so this is my response to Chris's summary and criticism. I think first off, Chris, you did an amazing job on summarizing my paper. And first off, thank you very much for giving the suggestions on what to do in my paper. For sure, it's very helpful in being able to go on to the next step of the paper itself. So I think that was really interesting. Very first thing you start off is talking about my grammar. Yeah, I'm not the greatest at that. But also, I think that's going to come through drafts. For me, I love just sitting there reading my paper out loud. It helps me catch my mistakes. I get to sit there and I go, oh, yeah, that really doesn't sound right. So it's really helpful for me is just reading it out loud, and I'm able to find it. And you also, talk about how I'm putting my quotes in my paper. I think at that point you're talking about where I need to expand on my quotes and how they're placed in the actual bodies of the paragraphs, which, yeah, I agree, need a little work. I need to definitely expand on quotes, though. There's a few that I'm not really satisfied with, and I want to keep on going, keep pushing the idea, push it that one step further. And next up, you talked about my intro needing work. And also, if you notice in my paper, I put like little things in there, like it's basically a reminder for me to go back and that this thing isn't done. I need to tweak it and take it another step forward. And I'm putting mental notes in there, so like if I'm forgetful and completely forget to fix that, I'm catching it before I turn this paper in. So. I did say I need to work on my intro, needing work. I even talked about that I want to go further in Bosnia, which I really do want to. One of those books that I do have goes into the actual situation of Bosnia very well, so I was going to go there. And you talked about just giving a lot more background information into the actual situation of Bosnia, because the source that I was using at the moment was just talking about what happened in the situation of Bosnia and the violence in there, and then the accords that actually happened in Dayton, which I do agree is cool that it's in Ohio, for sure. I also was thinking about going to Ethiopia too in my paper, and I was going to think about putting that in my paper if I was needing a little more page count, and it definitely would go a step further, but I may not. It's just depending on how well my whole paper does as of current. Next thing you talk about is clarifying who I'm talking about in the situations. Like the Rwanda genocide was the UN, and in Bosnia was NATO. So making sure that is clarified on which organization is being talked about in that certain situation. So I'll have to go back through, make sure that I'm using the right group at that point, or that peace organization. And I know for sure that NATO was in Bosnia. And then you talked about cutting out the part where I talk about the transition from negative peace to positive peace is very essential to keep peace going and progressively getting better. I think if I can't really find a way to work it and make sure that it, keeps on to my thesis, I may end up just cutting it, like you said. But I think I want to I'm going to try to keep it, but if I can't, I'm going to just end up cutting it. I'm going to try to see if I can find a way to work it in there, but if I can't, I can't. It's no big deal. You talked about putting Galtung in there. The piece I found, it wasn't... it gave a really nice definition of negative peace, but it wouldn't go any further than that. It would just be, something for one quote, which I feel like to use some Galtung piece, I would want something that goes further and keeps on pushing stuff. So I'm going to look for another piece on Galtung to see if I can find something that's a little better than the piece that I do have right now, which was from 67, and it's a very long piece. It's like 300 pages. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to find something else that's a little better. And even then, I do have another Galtung piece where it's talking about Ethiopia for sure. and I was thinking about working that into, because it's Galtung and it's talking about Ethiopia, so I think it could work there too. You said to work on my structure of my paragraphs. I think I'm gonna, as I'm expanding on my quotes, paragraphs are gonna get longer. They're gonna get more complex, not just the simple short ones, and I think that will help out. You talked about just cutting out the Rwanda genocide. I think at that point I need to work on how I'm presenting that argument there. That if the UN would have been more active actually with negative peace, that a whole lot less would have actually happened, and maybe less ethnic cleansing. And at that point, because the UN pulled their forces out of the main capitals and some major cities just to run camps to keep refugees there and then to ship them off. And I think if they would have done a little more, we could have easily avoided a little bit there. And you just talked about that I need to push the idea of how negative peace achieves world peace, and I think I need to go a little bit further than that. Keep on pushing that idea for sure. It's a little bit work. It's a work in progress, but I thank you very much, Chris, for all the input. It's very helpful just to hear from another person on what you can work on in your paper. So I thank you very much. So thank you.